Hello, I'm Jane Meredith, and I'm going to do a little reading today of part of my forthcoming book. So this is a book that will be published in July of 2022 by Llewellyn. It's called Falling Through the Tree of Life, Embodied Kabbalah. I'm really, really proud of it, and also tender and hopeful and a bit disbelieving, I guess, that it's actually going to be published, because it took me 3 years to write, which is a long time to be writing a book. So this section that I'm going to read to you today, I'm reading it off my computer because I don't actually have a physical book yet. It's one of the memoir sections, and these are spaced throughout the book, along with lots of explanatory pieces, many exercises, processes, spells and rituals, as well as deep dives into the meaning of the different sephirot, the positions on the Tree of Life. So this memoir piece is called Art and Life, and it's related to the sephirot of Netzach, which is the green sephirot. I always think of it as the garden, a bit like the Garden of Eden. And I will give a little content warning that there's a reference, or some references towards the end, of a sexual nature. So this is Art and Life from Falling Through the Tree of Life. I visit Musée de l'Orangerie in Paris, those big pools of oval rooms dedicated to Monet's water lilies. The vast canvases curve in concave away from the viewer, so it's like falling into the pond to be in the room with them. 4 in each of 2 rooms, 2 pools, 8 aspects of water lilies at dawn, night, daylight. The floating images, the effervescence, the almost religious quality of it all. I came here with Damon when he was 6, my second visit. He drew nothing but water lilies for days, weeks. So coming here again is also falling back into that time, because, though 20 years have passed, here it is the same. The exact same water lilies, waiting to be viewed, admired, offering that same second of transcendence they've always had. The carpet's the same, the bench seats in the centre of the room, the same. I've been in this room at 3 or 4 stages of my life, and I'm always different, but it's always the same, and it always offers me something new. This time I learned that Monet designed the pools and the gardens for the water lilies, for the paintings. So I go to Giverny to see the original. The day I choose is a day many hundreds, thousands probably, of others have also chosen, late spring. A good time for flowers and the countryside around Paris. I walk from the train within a stream of people. I queue for a ticket. I process through the formal gardens around the house and press impatiently on to the water lilies. They have lasted, as have the paintings, long past the life of their creator. There's a strange brand of immortal mortality flowering here, as if they're the exact same ones in the paintings, regardless of the deaths of those other ones. Although in this version there are a lot of rules. No food, no stopping for too long, stay strictly on the paths, and there are guards walking around to make sure we obey. I cross a bridge that's famous for its painted version. It's real under my feet. I put my hands on the railings. I gaze into a painting that's alive. I'm within it. It's very strange, almost unsettling, but also quite magical. I'm in a river of people, and it's hard to stop anywhere, to leave the current, but I find a bench with a space and sit down to gaze and ponder more deeply. There's a mother and a small girl, about 7 years old, already on the bench. They speak to each other in French. The girl is drawing water lilies on a pad of paper. She lays the coloured pencils in a row on the seat between me and her and picks them up one by one. I am entranced by the echoes of Damon drawing water lilies, and now this girl, and how many others throughout the years. When a patrolling guard stops by our bench and reminds us, in French, not to sit too long. I think that's what he says. But then he also says to the little girl that she shouldn't really be doing that because her coloured pencils might mark the bench. I can hardly believe that's what he said, but sure enough, the mother starts gathering the pencils up, and the little girl argues with her a bit. Like me, she can't understand the sense of this directive, in this place of colour and life, in this place that was built to showcase colour and life, in this place that was built to showcase colour and life so that an artist might not just see it, glory in it, but create. In this place that has no frames, like the artwork eventually has to, even if they're vast, immense, take up whole rooms, are pools in themselves. In this place, with the 360-degree living art, vibrant and shimmering, sharing its precious moments with us, who merely pass through, in so many ways, here, in this place, only for a few hours, on this earth, only a few decades. Here, in this place, a little girl is supposed to not draw with coloured pencils, not try to recreate this brilliance on the page, not try to interpret what she sees and how she feels about it, because one of her pencils might mark this outdoor green-painted bench. What if she's another Monet? What if her heart and eyes are filled with colour and life, and she has a passion to put a glimpse of it on a page? What if this is the way she relates to this scene, through drawing? What if she learns not to draw when other people are around? What if she learns that the world disapproves of creativity, of self-expression, of art generally, of the colour escaping onto the benches? What if she learns to keep it all inside? I have such a strong reaction to this, stronger probably than the little girl, her mother, or the guard, and my French isn't up to expressing it. What is this place for? Why is it even here, and why are we here? Isn't this little girl drawing water lilies while gazing at water lilies the exact reason? What are we here for to spend our lives doing? Colouring so carefully we don't mark the bench, or preferably not colouring at all. But the world is rich, spilling over in colour, and sometimes we know that. And other times it's art that takes us there. Art hanging in an expensive, purpose-built gallery, or art created in landscape, or art on a page using coloured pencils. Don't get colour on the bench. How much colour exactly could a slip of a pencil, we're not talking oil paints here, but a coloured pencil, get on a painted wooden bench? Perhaps he was just in a bad mood, doesn't like children, wasn't allowed himself as a child to do such a free thing as sit on a bench and draw pictures. I move on, and I am asking myself now, gazing at individual water lilies, gazing at the ponds, the surrounding garden, which I find more beautiful, more meaningful, these gardens or those paintings? The paintings capture layers of ideas, concepts about beauty and nature, as well as the actual sight interpreted by Monet, one man, a painter long dead. Les nymphées reflètent ver. Les nymphées, le dieu sol. Les nymphées, le matin au sol. The garden, its own thing. All these moods, painted, are within it. The actual Les nymphées are here. All those uncaptured, not paintings, water lilies at midnight, water lilies at the winter solstice, water lilies through tears, water lilies while making love, water lilies seen by a 7-year-old. They are here as well. There's a clipped and manicured aspect, the performance of the whole thing, which probably wasn't here in Monet's time. And all these people, he didn't have several thousand visitors a day tromping through his views and threatening to leave coloured pencil marks on his benches. The paintings take my heart because they show me the possibility of this. But this, the garden, living, is itself. The paintings that seek to capture a moment, though they're composites of many moments, they're not photographs. And this moment, living, a moment that I happen to inhabit, and even though I'm sharing it with hundreds of others, I'm not, really. It's my moment. That little girl had her own moment. I turn to philosophical musings, and she turns to coloured pencils, but both inspired by this raw, living garden, as Monet's paintings were. although the paintings, or the idea of the paintings, inspired the gardens, brought the gardens into existence. They feed each other, but one, however nuanced, however masterful, transcendent, ever revealing of new depths, is essentially finished. One is unfolding still, and that's my preference. The garden with its death and endless change. The garden with its paths and rules, guards and little girls. The garden which I inhabit in this moment, gazing at shades of pink as they blush up a single petal. The garden. I choose that. Watching this insect ripple the water, hearing waves of conversation pass me by on the path, French, English, Japanese, Spanish, rising and falling in words and waves, this tide of people seeking something. Beauty, art, love. The garden, art and nature meeting in both places, the art informing the garden, both in its original composition and now through the eyes of the gardeners, visitors, the French tourist board, no doubt, and the garden informing the art. Monet's magnificence and who knows how many thousands of others, including one little girl, on the day that I happened to visit. Art and nature making love on the page, on the canvas, and out here, intersecting with the wild, the passionate embrace. In Paris still, I go to l'Atelier des Lumières again for the immersive art experience, an hour wandering through a huge disused industrial foundry, emptied out, with a projected 360-degree artscape composed of Gustav Klimt's work. The paintings move across the walls, enlarge, drift apart and reform, dissolving one into another. Parts of them spanning across the floor, while on different walls other parts of them move, hold still a moment, arrive, brush stroke by brush stroke, or shred apart and rain earthwards. 5, 6, 15 different things to look at, and all of them in change. I dissolve in it. It's like lovemaking. It's ecstatic, fierce and wondrous and revelatory. The light is everywhere. My skin receives Klimt's patterns, colours. I am only and exactly that, a living canvas for projected light. How I carry it, display it, that's up to me. I lie on the floor. I walk through forests of art and shadow. I am swallowed up in darkness when the light leaves. I watch the scribbles of the artist's brush across a man's white shirt. The paintings form and unform. We are in and of the gallery. The edges are all dissolved. I am the meadow of flowers I sit amongst. I am the diamond-patterned floor. The light reflects off me. I am the forest, the trunks of silver-white trees slide over human bodies. I am seated on an arc of blue, so heartbreaking, changing to yellow, green, purple. My paper is purple with light splattered. It is red, dappled. It is streaking grey, light. I am in an ocean. There are tides of small boats sailing in the sea. It ripples under, over, through me. It dances over walls and through the space. I have purple, I have gold and black and cross-hatched light, always the light, the dappling, curling, unfolding purple and golds of light. There is a splotch of red on my page. Now a ripple of yellow, touch of blue. It's in serpents writing across. I am in a striped world. I am a stripe. I am bands of stripe. I am a blue forest with green. I am an ant in it, swallowed by colour. The green comes for me. The red paints over. I am devoured, consumed, tasted, beaten into colour again and again. I am saturated, full of colour, so full I drip and spill it out again. It tips over my skin and clothes. I am running with colour, with light. It is all light, and I have been eaten by it. I watch a city build from nothing onto the black. We are in the grid of it, the wash, the underpinnings. There's a sudden warmth of orange and yellow. I am in it. Now I have words flowing over my skin. We are dappled. One hand is red, rose, the other yellow with a stripe of blue. The faces are gardens of colour. We are revealed. Purple striations, carpets that sweep across the floor, swallowing all they find. Klimt's golden tree of life beginning. I am watching the beginning. Spirals uncurling from spirals, slow and ecstatic, relentless, never-ending, each piece appearing in place, and the unfurling of life becoming, art becoming life, and the birds and the colours and the pieces, each one, and it's happening on every wall, in every direction. It's inescapable. I'm swallowed by it, I've become it. I'm a curl, a spiral, a speck of gold. I am the garden. Arcadia. I think the word and see it all around. The floor is dark until leaves of light scatter off the walls and drift over me. The floor, now it's falling. The gold is dissolving into specks, to sparks, to atoms, and it falls, drifting downwards and across through the floor. We are falling. We are torn apart by the endless unfurling, by spirals turning back into gold, back to dust, the sparks of the universe becoming and unbecoming, to the depths of the world, to distance and separation, and all is loss and beauty, inescapable. And the spirals of the tree, gold and spiraling, is breathtaking, sear and majestic. It is majesty, grace, breath. I had a lover, a gift from Paris, I thought him. So much of Paris in this Netzach story, the city of light. I nearly didn't meet him because I was about to leave. I didn't think anything could come of it. But he was insistent and messaged me for days in quirky, invitational, open-hearted ways, and I succumbed to curiosity. I met him in a small garden patch next to the station. It's the end of the line, and a hot day. He loped up looking so French, dark hair, slightly long dark eyes, and a sallow complexion, and all focus, calm and welcome. We walked off the edge of Paris into the forest, and spent the afternoon walking and kissing and talking. His English is good, though he sometimes grapples for more complex words, and we debate between us the nuance of an English or French word. It's getting cooler, and he invites me back to his place. He says he can cook something. We can have a glass of wine. And the other invitation is there, running underneath, like a gold and green thread. But I feel that if all I wanted was wine and dinner, maybe a few more kisses, it would be absolutely fine. We go to a Carrefour, a mini-mart, and he lets me choose the chocolate. I choose my very favourite Lindt, Citron Vert, and he gets another because you can never have too much chocolate. I feel the kindness of the world embraced by this so simple thing of shopping with a sweetheart. It makes me want to weep. But really, I'm shining. At his apartment we talk more seriously over delicious wine. He says he doesn't believe in cheap wine. We talk about desire and sex and relationships, and everything he says I like. We go to bed, his messy, unmade bed, and we make love for hours and hours in a free-falling sort of way that ebbs and flows and never really ends. I adore it. I lose myself in it. I find myself. I am totally myself. Free and laughing and weeping and kissing and unfolding on this bed in Paris, and his eyes always searching mine, his mouth finding mine, finding my skin, my delight, expansion, dare, edge, embrace, his arms around me, his hands on me, in me, all over my skin, and there are waves of intensity and lulls of deep rest. But still in the flood of it, and one time, late, it's very late by now, long after midnight, he gets up to turn off the lights and music, and he's gone long enough that I'm 9/10 asleep by the time he returns, and he enters the bed with such focus and intent, opening my body towards him again, and I say, half say, I thought we were sleeping. Are we still making love? And he laughs and says, yes, we're still making love, and I'm so deep in it that I've lost any measure of reserve I might have had. We finally sleep a few hours. I sleep in his arms, in his bed, in his apartment, in his city, and I've no edges. I've gone over the edges of the page, and I'm leaving colour everywhere. And when it's sort of morning, we're making love again, and really this is him, his focused intent, and I've cried a dozen times from the beauty of it, the freedom, delight, the finding myself here, the overwhelming gift of it, and it takes up so much room, I can't even fit in grief or regret at the fact that I'm leaving. It's all joy. Oh, the reminder that this type of sex, of love, exists, the type that doesn't stay within the lines, that it's possible that others, apart from myself, worship sex in this way, court it to open the gates and fall through and through and through, spinning about each other in vast space. Sex as the most embodied, the most free, universal, unlayered and becoming. Ecstasy of stars and death layered there between us. Sex as the story that rewrites the stars, alchemical. The space that creates space, the art that creates art, the worship of the divine through another human. The garden that we build, creating a space for life to flourish. The art of love that spills off the edges of the bed, over the edges of the page, the immersion of it, the breath and body of it, the unbounding quality, the generosity of it, the 1,000 kisses of it. All the possibilities that dance here, the sheer unending dare of the physicality of it. Take me places I've never been, and let me become all things, and your hands on my skin and your kisses unrelenting bliss. We are an artwork off the page. We are the reason the page exists. We are the city of love. We are colours, flowers, forest, every atom vibrating, becoming. That's an extract from my Kabbalah book, Falling Through the Tree of Life, Embodied Kabbalah. It's published by Llewellyn in July 2022. Thanks for listening.